Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, if you're thinking about making a major change in your business, whether that's selling it outright or passing it on to your kids, you're going to want to watch this next segment because it's going to save you a lot of money. That's just ahead.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Well, as we saw during COVID, countless businesses went under, and when they tried to sell it to someone else, they couldn't get much because they hadn't set themselves up for success. To talk about that today, Jeffrey Brewster. He's the founder and CEO of BT Valuation. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you very much for having me. Appreciate it.
And you've been on our show before, but you've started a new venture, and I wanted to bring you back to talk about what's happening in the market these days. What are you seeing on the front line?
Yeah, what we're really seeing is the interest rate increases have had a dramatic impact on companies, and it hasn't been positive. A number of the transactions that were being really financed and capitalized using debt have really fallen off to the side. It now goes back to the equity investors or the stock investors, and they're looking for those funds from equity investors. And equity investors require a higher rate of return, so they want a better deal. As you can tell, this all impacts in a negative way the valuations of companies. So what I'm hearing from my friends in the quality of earnings spaces and due diligence places, there's definitely a lot more diligence going on. So these deals are taking a little bit longer. And as you can tell, that is lengthening the overall sales process.
Sure. I want to pull up your website, and as we scroll down the website, I want to talk about the name, BT Valuation. What does it mean?
Yeah, better total valuation. Because some people need a better total valuation and others need a better total valuation process. And we stand to fill in the gap in both of those situations.
And I know a lot of business owners will, kind of minimize their profits for years and years and years, just trying not to pay Uncle Sam more than they have to. But then when it comes time to sell, it doesn't look like the company made any money.
Right. We run into that on a regular basis. And there are ways that we would take a look at that and go, all right, so what is a normalized expense here? What I will refer to, hopefully and no trademark infringement here on the movie Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, because those frequently show up in the valuation. And do you really need a train to run this company? I do have one company that we did have to value years and years ago, and we actually did need a train to run that company. So Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, done it all. Boats, houses, lake houses, you name it.
Okay, tell us one of your favorite stories of a client you've helped.
Yeah, there's been some really, really interesting opportunities that we've had recently. And one of them is really kind of coming back where you've got somebody who did a business for a number of years, and it's time for them to exit. It's really time for them to pass the torch, or it's time for them to just transfer it to someone else. And at this time, it looks like it's handing it off to somebody else. And it's one of these helps. I'll just call it a helps industry where it's very, very physically demanding. She's getting into that age where that physical demand is really wearing on her, and it's time for her to rest. She has really done a great job of building out a client base, working with those people and helping them over years and years and years. And quite frankly, looking at the company right now, it's a situation where it's a highly sought after company and a very highly sought after industry, but there are some things in place that really have made it difficult for the exit to occur. So we went in there and initially, and I offer this to all of my prospects, all of my clients, we'll sit down with them for 90 minutes and I tell them, and you spend 90 minutes with me, you're going to get 3 things from me, maybe 4. And just because you got a 4th one doesn't mean you won a prize, because that 4th one means you probably have some immediate homework. The first thing you're going to get is a valuation estimate. The second thing you're going to get is what we think that value could be of the company if you change a few things or modify some of those items that we'll identify. And as you can imagine, the third thing is that list of things that we perhaps are saying, you need to go and take a look at this. This is going to get you the biggest bang for your buck. Go and take care of this now. Now that 4th category is the one that you don't want to get. Again, you're getting more for your money, but it's kind of like golf. You don't want a lot of strokes on your card. So 3 are fine, 4 is not great. That 4th one is, these are red flags. And we happen to have a red flag in this story. That red flag was taxes hadn't been done yet. And we didn't actually know where the tax preparer was in the process. Didn't know if they had filed, didn't know if they had filed an extension. And so that was the red flag. And that was the walk away of, we really need to get this taken care of immediately. So we're in the process there, and now we're looking at, do you walk down the sales path with the client, or do you walk down the consulting path and then get back on the sales path? And we stand to help in all of those situations. My team and I, our affiliates, our network is really robust and ready to help clients through that process.
When is it appropriate to set up a trust?
In the way that we're doing it today, and again, one of those fantastic network of people that I know are setting up trust immediately. I would tell today, business owners specifically, you have a very unique opportunity to set up a trust structure that really maximizes the amount of after-tax dollars that you take home. And there are some incredible opportunities for business owners that we really need to really capitalize on right away. So I tell folks, if you're in a situation where you have money coming into you from a business that you own or that you have an ownership interest, we should talk, because I think we can immediately show you how to benefit from a trust structure. And then again, if you're thinking maybe a couple of years from now, or maybe 5 years from now, or maybe there's a transfer that's going to happen within the walls of the company, another trust structure can be put in place, quite similar to the one we would have in place today, in which you can maximize the amount of money on an after-tax basis, again, minimizing or completely eliminating capital gains. It's unique for everybody. Each structure is a little bit different. So I always encourage people to give me a call and we'll talk and find out what works best for them.
Jeffrey is also a very popular guest on podcasts. I found one of them, and we're going to put it up on the screen as we talk about this. Jeffrey, you do have kind of the heart of a teacher. You love to educate, don't you?
I certainly do. I'm a former professor, adjunct professor in college for finance, economics, valuation, and corporate finance. So I kind of took that a little bit further, and while my son was in junior high, I was also a football coach. So teaching is just, whether you have a whistle around your neck or whether you have a marker at a whiteboard, coaching and teaching is just part of the central part of me.
Okay, so if a business owner is thinking about either selling their company or passing on to the kids, how much in advance do they need to meet with you?
Yeah, if you had the thought, you're probably about 5 minutes late of contacting me. It really is a process that can change. You initially think it's going in one direction, and I had a client that we went from an ESOP, which is an idea of an ESOP, which is an employee stock ownership program or plan, and it went from that to potentially transferring it to a family member, till that family member came in one day and said, "Love working here, don't want to own the business." So we had another pivot. And as you can imagine, those pivots take time to plan for and structure. and get the most from the planning process that you go through. So I tell people, it's never too early to start thinking about the process, because you never really know how long the process is going to take. And it doesn't necessarily mean that if we talk about it today, that it's going to happen before the end of the year. It might not happen before the end of the decade, but at least you now are planning and moving forward and adjusting the business accordingly.
Okay, we're almost out of time, so final thoughts.
Yeah, we are in an incredibly great time. I feel like it's the best of times and the worst of times. Just imagine which channel you turn or which website you go to. But there are some incredible opportunities right here, and I really try to put that in front of the clients that we have. We really do have one of the best places on the face of the earth in all of history to do business, and to do it in a way that you get to leave a legacy.
It's a great way to end this show. We'll also leave with the website, which is bt-valuation.com. The great Jeffrey Brewster, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. That's it for now. We'll see you next time.